Welcome to Monkey Chatter. Before we get started, we have to say that while we think we are really smart, we definitely are not doctors, and you should not be taking our advice as medical advice. Everything we say on this show is based on personal experiences, and any guests we have on are not on to help diagnose or treat or cure any disease. Please reach out to your doctor if you have specific medical questions. And now that we're done with kind of the legalese of the show, we want to get on with the fun stuff. So carry on. Let's get down to Monkey Chatter.
Welcome to Monkey Chatter. This is Lara, and we are throwing you all a bonus, or should I say, throwing you all a bone this week because this episode is airing on Tuesday, April 30th. When this episode airs, is also National Adopt a Shelter Pet Day. And being that we are all totally animal lovers, we have different experiences with animals and adopting animals, but we all have a pretty rich history with animals influencing our lives. And we also all kind of know how important it is to probably all of our health and wellness to have these lovely pets. I actually have recently become a huge rescue beagle fan. Thanks in large part to the Beagle Freedom Project. A little shout out, look them up. They do wonderful work rescuing animals from testing facilities. And they also have a terrific app. It's called Cruelty Cutter, and it's a little app on your phone, and you can scan any hair, makeup, laundry, cleaning, whatever you want. You can scan the product at the grocery store, and it tells you whether or not it is, in fact, tested on animals. So you can make changes if that is aligned with how you think. So anyways, I did that several years ago, and I actually do feel like I feel better. But because of that, I found the Beagle Freedom Project, and I also adopted a couple of beagles from that wonderful group. And I had had many shelter pets and abandoned rescues throughout my life, and I can't even imagine my life without any of them. Some of their time with me was short-lived, but I always felt like I gave them, the best part of their life because a lot of them didn't come from so great conditions. So,
There, I
with
had
that,
totally forgot about this
yeah.
until you were just talking
Oh, I
about
know the
your
story.
beagle. You will have to tell the story about your beagle, the one time I was traveling with you.
That is such a
I
funny
totally
story.
forgot about that again until now.
So that was my first beagle, and I had had lots of pets my whole life and definitely lots of other shelter pets, but I think the reason I fell in love with beagles was because of Charlie. And
That's
we
right. I
went to
forgot his
the
name.
Yes, his name was Charlie, and he was the cutest little beagle. He was just like little and bouncy and so happy all the time. And we adopted him from the local Lexington Humane Society or Center. And we had only had him a few days. Mind you, I had a completely fenced in yard at the time. And Amy and I were working together, and she was in Lexington to help me like go visit clients, and we had traveled around together, so we'd meet and drive around together. And the like second day after I had Charlie, and I had a little dog door, and apparently he found the tiniest gap in our fenced in yard that he could possibly squeeze through. And so here I had to go through all this rigmarole to adopt this dog and prove that I was a good owner. And they call and they're like, "Yes, hi, this is the Humane Society. And yeah, your neighbors have your dog, and apparently he ended up in their yard and they're holding him for you in their backyard." And I was like, "Okay, thanks." Super embarrassing. That was bad enough. But then I call the owner people who had him, and they're like, "Oh no, he got out. He got out of our fence." And then the Humane Society called me back, and a different neighbor had him. So I think that's how it went. So in the
Yeah,
course of
he
having
had
him for
escaped
less than
multiple
a
times.
week, he escaped twice from me, his new captors, and then I had to pick him up. So we had a lot of fence manipulation to do after that. But and he
Sneaky.
continued to be a pretty good little escape artist from time to time. but he got to the point where he was well loved and known by the neighbors, and he used to always go right for. We have a little school up the street. He would always go right for the kids in the playground, and there was always somebody that would call me and say, "Hey, Charlie's up here visiting. Can you come get him?" But he was the most loving, cuddly, sweet little boy ever. So he had a lot of good years with us, and we love him dearly.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
so that's
funny.
our story with our first beagle. So after that,
Yeah.
I've been like beagle, 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 crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was years
But
ago. That's
it
a
was
long
a
time
long
ago.
time ago, and
Yeah.
since then, we rescued another beagle through them. Her name was Stella, and she was super sweet. She had a lot of health problems because she had had a really hard life, but she was such a loving sweetie for a long time. And my most recent through Beagle Freedom is a little lady named Lucy who's taken a nap over here because she had a big day, and she's about 17 or 18. We don't know. So she's a senior rescue, which I will say I highly recommend. I mean, these are dogs that are like tested and proven. She's nothing phases her. She's sweet to everybody. She mostly sleeps.
No.
She loves her walks every day. And when you do a big walk and then to go take her to the dog wash, she's out for the day. So, anyways, that's kind of my story in a nutshell. But Amy,
Aw.
on the other hand, is very kind of new to the whole dog adoption thing in her
Yeah.
life.
Dog adoption.
And Amy
So
doesn't do anything halfway, by the way. So this is what I need to say before Amy gets to talk. When Amy jumps in with all feet,
All 4 feet?
arms, legs, all
well,
4 feet.
Oh.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I grew up with dog like we always had dogs and actually I remember when I was young, I don't know, probably like early teens. I was going to give somebody a riding lesson and I found this little dog, this little puppy along the side of the road. And we already had a dog and I brought him home and I remember my mom saying, "That dog is not staying here. You need to find him a place to live." And the next day I went to school and I came home and he had like a whole little bed and his own little bowls and all of that. And he found a place to live for like the next 14 years or whatever it was. And that was at our house. So, um, yeah, that was probably my first quote unquote rescue, but he was just a random little dog. I guess somebody had puppies and unfortunately just didn't want them and he was found him along the road. We named him Rocky
Oh.
because I said he had a rocky start.
Oh.
But anyway, yeah, so the guys the two that we have now are Archie and Gizzy. And so I told my husband whenever we built our house, I was like, we're getting a dog, but at the time I was traveling a lot for work all the time, so I didn't think it was fair to have a dog and then be gone and all of that. So as soon as I kind of switched roles and was home and working from home all the time, I started the search to find a dog, and it actually took me probably a year and a half or so. Like I was on all the rescue sites and the pet finder and all of that stuff. And I remember
Was
a
Tony
friend,
on board at that point with getting a dog, or was he reluctant?
he was not. I helped him see the error of his ways. Yeah, he's like, you can do what you want to, but it's your dog. So,
Oh, I love it.
mhm, yeah. So, a friend of mine that I work with, she knew that had been looking for a while, and I still remember the day that she sent me Archie. So Archie was our first adoption. She sent me a picture of him, and I was like, oh, it was definitely like love at first sight. I'm like, oh, that's
Aw.
my boy. So, and he was relatively close. He was only like 45 minutes. He was in a foster home about 45 minutes from us. And so I remember I'd like gone through the whole process because I mean, it's a process to do an
Yeah.
adoption and stuff. I did all the paperwork, all the background checks, all the vet checks, all that stuff. And so I was going to, it got approved and I was going to see him
to meet him at the foster home and decide. And honestly, I think the only reason that Tony went along, like, he wasn't gonna go along because he was like, "Again, you do what you want, but it's your dog." But I think because Archie was at a foster's house and I had to, like, go into somebody else's house to, to meet him, I think he was afraid I was gonna, like, get abducted or something, so he, I think he was just
Like some
scared for my
scam,
safety.
yeah.
I think he was
Come and look at our
scared.
rescue dogs. We're going to
Want a puppy? No. So he went along with me and we were there. And side note, his fosters are amazing. We're still real good friends with them and like keep in contact. And there's a whole other thing there too. But they're awesome, amazing people. Um, but so yeah, we went and met him and when we left, I was like, because we didn't decide, I was like, just give me a day to think about it. Because I don't like I definitely am like a thought process, like, so it's like, "Just give me a day and then we'll decide." And, I asked Tony on the way home, I was like, "So what do you think?" And he's like, "If you don't get that dog, you're stupid." I'm like, "Uh-huh." So, yeah, so we got all this stuff because we didn't have anything then because Tony grew up with dogs and I grew up with dogs, but we hadn't had a dog together, so yeah, so neither one of us we didn't have anything. We didn't have any leashes, we didn't have a crate, we didn't have anything. So, I spent the weekend, like, at every pet store in the Baltimore area getting all this stuff. Then we went and picked him up on Monday night and brought him home, and yeah, so and then Gizzy, well, let me back up. So then we got into a little bit of fostering, and that is one thing I would suggest to people that even if you can't adopt or you're are leery of having the responsibility of a dog forever for its entire life because once you adopt them they are yours. Please, people, do not drop them off. um but fostering is awesome. Oh, and you might be able to hear my dogs right now. Speaking of,
It's just good ambiance for this episode.
yeah, perfect. um But fostering is a great way, to kinda dip your toe in, and it, can save a life that way because you can, pull the dog out of a shelter, or save them from euthanasia and give them a place to stay until sorry, I'm just laughing because they are thudding around upstairs.
Aw. And,
Um
sometimes it's a foster fail because I have been there, but it's
Yeah.
a win in that case too.
Mhm. Yeah, so we did our first foster. He was a puppy, and he was super sweet, but, yeah, he super cute, but he needed to go live with somebody else. But our second one, I was like, "Okay, we can't do this fostering because typically when you foster, it's, until they're adopted, at least the rescues that we've worked with.
Mhm.
And so just the not knowing of, how long you would have them was kinda hard for us. But I was like, we're more than happy to do, like, vacation fosters or temp fosters. So, like, for when people, their full-time fosters are going on vacation or something.
Oh,
So
that's a
we,
great idea. I didn't know they did that kind of
mhm.
stuff.
Yep. Yeah, so it's like you theoretically have a start date and an end date.
Yeah. You're not like,
Appropriate.
we're stuck with this."
Yeah.
So and it gives you, a week or whatever it is, or maybe it's a weekend or something, to get to know the dog and see if maybe you wanna adopt or whatever. Um, but anyway, so Gizzy, we, had done a temporary foster. Her foster family was going on vacation for a week, and that was 8 months ago. She now lives at our house. No, so her
Aw.
foster family had some medical issues while they were on vacation and, had their hands full when they got were finally released from the hospital and got back into town, and they're like, "We're really sorry, but we just can't take her back." So, we tried to find her another foster, and, that didn't go so well. So I was like, "She's way too sweet to let go." So and her and Archie got along really well, and So we decided to keep her. So now we have 2 little rescues
Oh.
that are spoiled rotten, and our lives revolve around them.
Life is no longer your own.
No,
Yeah. Oh,
definitely
I
not.
mean, and I love that about the temporary fostering, and it actually made me
Mhm.
think of something our local humane society does, in Lexington at least. They have this thing where you can like check a dog out for a day.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
and
you can
take
take
them.
them to a dog park.
Mhm.
You can like hang out with them all day. The dog gets out. They get to get some love and attention, and
Yeah, they
that
get
I bet a lot of
socialized.
shelters do that. So
Mhm.
please check out your local shelter.
Yeah. Our, one of the shelters here does a thing, because 'cause we're close to the Orioles baseball
Mm.
stadium, and, so they'll do, like, adoption nights and stuff, so you can volunteer to take the dog to the ballpark. It gets them out, it gets them socialized, it gets them exposed to, a lot of people, and, it gets them seen by people who may wanna adopt
Aw.
them, so,
Do
yeah.
you like walk around going, hot dog, get your hot dog here?
Well, you're full of all kinds of funnies
I
tonight.
know, I'm like, wow.
Rescue dog here.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the funniest rescue stories I've ever heard, and even though it wasn't a dog, it was a cat, but it's Michelle's
Yeah,
kitty cat
Michelle.
story.
We gotta include we gotta include more
All
than
the
just dogs.
so so I do have to do, a shout out to the beagles. I married into a beagle dynasty, unbeknownst to me. Yeah, so we have beagles. My my husband's, family actually raised beagles for hunting, and so, that's been a big part of his life, and I got, a really good education on hunting dogs and raising them, and now we're down to just one, Vinny, who lives with us, and they are the sweetest. I mean, shout out to all the beagle folks out there. Those
Oh,
dogs are so sweet, and, all he wants to do is, like, be your buddy, be your pal. I mean, the
mhm.
way he looks at Bill, I wish Bill looked at me that way. So,
It's so
shout out to
true.
all the beagle folks.
The
Um,
dogs definitely get kisses when Tony comes in the door
oh,
before I do.
right? Like, so, anyway, but growing up, we had, oh my gosh. So I had a, cousin, I think it was one of my cousins who was getting divorced, and they couldn't figure out who was gonna get custody of their dog, and so somehow we ended up with custody of their dog, and she was an amazing dog. Her name was Ginger. She was a Chesapeake Bay Retriever. I don't know if anybody has any experience with them.
Yeah, they're cool dogs.
Oh my gosh, she was an amazing dog. So she was sort of our growing up family pet that we had, the whole time we were kids. But the cats have been sort of my rescue experience. Um, my husband Bill and I, we had 2 cats for 15 years that we picked up, off the side of the road. That's a really interesting story, probably for another day, but yeah, so we picked them up with the intent. I can remember driving home going, "Well, we'll give one to your sister, or I'll give one to my mom," and by the time we got home, like, that was the end of that, and, Perch and Buzz, may they both rest in peace, lived with us for 15 years and were a huge part of our family. So, just wanna say, people, please don't drop your animals off on the side of the road.
Oh,
That just is horrible.
seriously.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
Um,
we
those
definitely don't want to shame anybody ever on this show, but we will
but
shame
that
you.
yes, that we will
please
shame.
don't.
Yeah, we will shame you. Do not drop your pets off on the side of the road or on a
Oh,
farm. And
yeah.
speaking of rescue pets,
Is that your cat?
yeah,
Have
this is
it.
Cat. We can't have an episode without Cat. Let's face it.
Oh, so yes, the story about the cat, the actual real rescue story, I will
Yes.
shorten it for our
Oh
purposes.
no, you have to
Yeah.
tell it in its entirety. It's great.
So I used to house sit for a really wonderful woman, who, it was in New York near where I used to live, and I used to take care they had goats, they had horses, they had cats, all the things, but then a couple of nights before I was supposed to house sit, they obviously had a farm, and somebody had dumped off a litter of kittens, like, she said it was, like, right outside their bedroom window, like, they were sleeping, and all of a sudden, they heard all this meowing and went out, and sure enough, somebody had decided they should have I think there were 5 or 6 kittens.
Oh,
Mm.
that's
So,
so
when I got there by the time it was a couple days later when I got there to house sit, and she only had, I think, 1 left, and it was this little teeny gray, like, diluted calico female, a really cute, really little, they, like, fit in the palm of your hand, right? And she was like so I took care of all the cats, she came back, I'm getting ready to go, she's like, "Listen, are you sure you don't want this kitten?" And I'm like, "No, I absolutely do not want a kitten. No, no, I cannot." I was traveling, I was living in an
Famous last
apartment,
words.
right? I was just like, "There is absolutely no way I am leaving here without the kitten." And, she said, "Well, I'm gonna have to take it to the shelter because I can't find somebody to take it and, it's gotta go." So, I drive away. I lived 3 hours away from her, so I
so
drive home.
cold,
Yeah, I know. So harsh, right? Nope, I'm leaving the
cold
little
hearted
kitten. You can just see the little kitten staring at me with it.
in
Um,
your rear view mirror.
I'm like, "No, I'm not doing it." And, uh, my friend Joan, took it to the shelter. I get home and probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 days later, I call her up. I'm like, "All right, what'd you do with they were calling the kitten Messy after Messenger, who was a famous, standardbred, for those of you who are in the horse world.
Mhm.
And, I said, "Well, what, do you still have Messy?" And she's like, "No, I took it to the shelter." And I was like,
Oh,
"Ugh." I'm like, "All right." I said, I will take her." She's like, "Well, it's kinda out of my hands now. You have to, like, jump through all the hoops with the shelter to get her." And, oh my goodness, like, I have a real appreciation for folks 'cause I w that was a serious
Yeah,
serious
totally.
amount of data these folks wanted, and I think I was what was I, in my late 20s, early like, I just was like, Okay. And, so went through all the things, and they had a pretty hefty fee too,
mm,
like, that I
yeah.
had to
Mm. You could have just had a free cat.
All
have.
you had to do is
And
take it the first time.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh. So I finally I get her in the car, and man, she meowed for 3 solid hours on the way home. I was definitely, rethinking that whole program. I'm like, "What have I done?" But I had her for quite a long time. She was always a really, interesting cat. She was a very, um, did her own thing. Like, she was super confident, and maybe it's from being dropped off that way, and maybe she knew I, like, came back,
Yeah.
like, "Listen,
You're
you
like,
ditched me
"I
the
lived a
first
street
time."
life.
Yeah, right,
I can take care of myself." That's how Gizzy is, because she was a
yeah.
street dog, like, she's like,
Yeah,
"I
like,
got this."
she was having none of me. She was just like, "Oh my god." So, it was always on her terms, and I remember when I, because she was so little when I first got her, she used to sleep on my throat, um,
She was
literally
trying to
lay right
suffocate
across
you.
my throat,
That's
trying
an
to
old
kill me.
wives' tale.
Somebody told me that,
Kidding.
they like to, especially when, they're abandoned really young, and I could be making this might not be true, but that something about like, how when you're breathing or something about that there's, like, a noise or a vibration there,
Mm,
and that they
It
will,
could be the pulse in your throat.
yeah,
yeah.
it's something. So she always would sleep on my throat, and then once we were done with, like, sleep time, then it was like, "Pff, whatever, just make sure I'm fed, and I'd like to go out now, you know?" Now I struggle, the thing that I struggle with, because since we lost our other cats and Messy has been long gone, um I struggle so much with getting another cat because when I grew up, like, the cats were all outside, inside cats, like they sort of came and went on their own program.
Mhm.
Um, and so as one could imagine, they had shorter lifespans, right? I mean, we have all kinds of stuff around and, they either get um, poisoned by something or eaten by a fox or whatever. So the last 2 cats we had, we didn't let them out
Mhm.
unsupervised, right? They had supervised outside.
Like prison.
We had the catitentiary, we called
Yeah.
it, right? Because we had a fenced-in garden, and we used to put them out there in the catitentiary. Um, but I always feel so badly because all they wanna do is go
Totally.
outside, right? Like,
Right.
we
Yeah.
just
They do, and please, can you say that again? You
Oh,
call
the
it the
catitentiary?
catitentiary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a garden in our old house when we had Perch and Buzz, um, and so there's a way that you can fence things where you have the top of the fence sort of curves in toward the center,
Oh, I've
and
heard
they
of
can't
this.
really climb out of there. Now, not that they didn't escape. I'm thinking of your beagle, like, these cats were really could figure out how to get out of places, and we spent plenty of nights crawling around the neighborhood, going under people's oh my god, Bill has some great stories about, when you're going under people's cars and they're you're thinking you're gonna get shot. No, no, really, we're looking for our cat who has decided that it needs a little walkabout at
We're
8 o'clock
not
at
stealing your
night.
catalytic converter. We're
No,
just
we're
looking
Yeah.
trying
for
to
a
get
lost
We're
her
a
cat.
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 Different cat,
Yeah,
different cat.
right. Exactly. So that is a real struggle for me now is like if we were to get another cat, like having to try and keep it inside and you know, they get so miserable
I
about it.
know. I struggle
Oh,
with
yeah.
that. And all of our most recent cats, including the 2 I have now, they weren't shelter pets, but they were rescues. They were abandoned.
Mm.
And one was like a year old, and the other was a teeny tiny kitten. And she is an indoor cat. She has no desire to go outside. She's terrified of the outdoors. But he was already on his own outside and definitely does not want to be in all the time. And I know there's a lot of schools of thoughts on it. And I think it really does depend on where you live. Like, we're very lucky because we have,
Mhm.
you know, no busy streets and we have a big fenced in yard, even though he does know how to get out of it at times. And our previous cat before that was also, he was a bottle raised kitten, which, if
Oh.
anybody's had experience with that, they think they're people.
Yeah.
They have no clue that they're actually a cat and they think they're on your level.
Mm.
And he was an amazing cat. In fact, I think about him often. He passed away a couple of years ago, but he was almost 18. And he actually was a big orange cat. And I don't know if anybody's a cat person listening, but if you have a ginger cat, you know they have special big personalities. And
It's like a
he
Garfield.
actually, yes, like Garfield, he left us for a period of like a summer where he would roam the neighborhood and everybody in the neighborhood knew him and he visited with everybody. And then one day he was gone for a couple of days and I was like, oh, we knew we shouldn't have, let him be an outdoor
Mm.
cat. And a few days later, this car pulls up in the driveway and this is old couple and they pull in and I walk out and they have Tiger. He's in the back seat window perch, just hanging out. And I was like, "Hi." And they're like, "Oh yeah, we just wanted to let you know that we have Tiger. We found out this is his real house." I'm like, "Yeah, this is his home. He's not
He
skinny
lives
or
here. Yeah.
he's well groomed." And they're like, "Well, we weren't sure if he was a stray, so we've been feeding him." And I'm like, "Oh, this is why he's staying around you. You know that, right? Like, you feed him, he will not leave." So they were feeding him this horribly like cheap cat food that he absolutely loved. And of course, we're feeding him like the really expensive good stuff. So this happened on and off for the entire summer. And sometimes he'd be gone for a week and sometimes a few days, but they would always bring him back and I'd have to go get him because they couldn't get him out of their car because he could be a little And he was also the cat that at the vet, in his chart, in giant letters, it said bites. BITES. They'd have to wrap him in a towel to do shots and stuff, but we had him all current. But sure enough, he just was back and forth, and then it was about at the end of summer, maybe early fall, and these people came over and they said, "We want to let you know we're moving." They were an older couple, and I think they were moving into like assisted living or something. And they said, "We're moving, and we wanted you to know because we're worried that Tiger's going to be up there looking for us." So I
Aw.
said, "Okay." I said, "I'm going to keep an extra special effort to keep him in for a longer time this time." It's really hard, but I'm going to try because all my curtains are ripped and my screens and everything.
Right?
So,
Just
so
destroy it.
they leave, and I keep him in. I was very successful for about a week and a half, almost like 2 weeks. And then he figures out how to get out one day. So he's out. This is prior to the dog door. And he is gone for like a whole day. I'm like, "Ugh, he went up there." So I went up there, walked around their house, couldn't find him. The next day he comes back, and that was it. He did not ever leave. It was like he went up there, checked things out, and was like, "Yep, they left me."
You're gone. Yeah.
And, from that time on, he stayed home more. He was hanging around with us. It's like he just needed a break from his family.
He wanted
Well,
to go to like
yeah.
summer camp or something.
That was what it was. Yep.
Yeah.
And he was
So
he
funny.
was such a fun kitty. I loved him till the very end. I think
Uh,
about him, and sometimes in the middle of the night, I imagine that he jumps on the bed because he had a certain feel to him, and I'm like, "There's no cat on the bed, but I swear I just felt that." So who knows? Maybe he's still here.
Uh, when you
aw.
were talking about the shelter stuff, it reminded me after we had adopted Archie, I remember looking on the rescue where we got him just to see if we could find like any information about him like before, and they had his poor little shelter picture on there with him and his sister like when he was a puppy. Like they were like
Oh.
desperately looking for fosters so that they could pull him out of this not so
Oh.
great shelter down south. And,
Oh.
I was like, "Oh, that's our little boy," like and now he sleeps in bed and, runs
Yes.
the
On the
house.
pillow, right? Like,
I
But
know. I feel
yeah.
like that most rescue pets just are the most grateful, loving creatures
Mhm.
because it's like they know.
Yeah. They're so cool.
Oh, I
Um,
know.
yeah, there's so much I don't know. I could go on and on and on. I was actually just having a conversation yesterday, with a friend of mine from church that, she has they bought this, like, RV, this old RV thing, and her goal is to get it, like, she's like, I need a good mechanic and whatever," but her ultimate goal is to transport pets or to transport dogs, because a lot of the and I had no idea about any of this stuff until my non-dog wanting husband has gotten into, like, trying to save all the dogs on the planet. They actually transport a lot of animals from down south, because it's where they tend to have more overcrowding with the shelters and stuff, and bring them more up north where they can be more adopted. But her goal with this RV is to basically outfit it so that, she can transport animals from down south up here. And I was like, "Dude,
Oh.
we are road" I was like, "I've already named us Thelma and Louise." I was like, "We're going, taking this RV and"
I mean, that
Yeah,
is a
transporting.
thing.
Mhm,
So even though I had two, I had the foster fail from Beagle Freedom, and then I had Lucy, who was a senior. So she's technically a forever foster, but she's ours. Um, but I'm on their volunteer list for transportation. So that's a real thing, and they reach out every now and then, and I've only been able to actually make it work once, but just with my schedule. But the one time we transported this beagle from somewhere in like South Lexington up to Indiana. It was
mhm.
like a 2.5 hour drive. Um, and in the 2.5 hour drive from here, I went with my partner, Colin. And in that 2.5 hours, we get up there and we're like, we don't want to give her up.
Yeah.
Do we need to give her over, or can we just say no? We decided we'll adopt her after all. But
Yeah,
anyway,
there's
she went to a very loving family, and they were waiting for her at the rest stop when we got there, and they showed us their IDs, so we knew it was them. It was
yeah.
but
And there's
yeah,
so much stuff
it's
like that you
interesting.
can do, like, again, if your life's because I get that, like, not everybody's lifestyle is conducive to having a dog, so good on you for not adopting one and then being like, "Oh, crap, we don't have time," and then giving it up to the shelter. Um,
Yeah.
but there's so much stuff like that that you can do to help that, for transport, I know a lot of the rescues will ask for transport even to, like, a vet, like, if they have to go for and maybe their
Mhm.
foster or whatever can't take them, you can do transport, which may take a couple of hours. You can collect food.
Mm.
There's so much stuff, and the more oh my gosh, we could go on for hours, but the more and more that Tony and I get into this, the more you just realize how much is out there and, how much you can do to help. And it's just really cool. And I do have to I have to give my loving husband a shout out on here. He probably will never listen to this podcast. I'm not even sure he knows how to listen to a podcast. But he actually, again, non-dog wanting husband, started this organization called Archie's Blankets Across America. Um, and so he does have a Facebook page and an Instagram page now, but his goal is to raise money to ship blankets to shelters and then street rescuers, specifically in Texas. He's gotten connected with a lot of the street rescuers and stuff down there. So he did this all on his own. Last year, he shipped a couple of hundred blankets, like, all on his own. And this year he's, like, kind of trying to raise money to do it. But his
Oh, I
goal is
just
to
love that he does
send
that.
these blankets, and he'll just do, like, the Walmart blankets, so then, we can just ship them directly there, and there's no, like, shipping fees and stuff. And, so yeah, his goal is to send 2,500 blankets to, like,
Oh.
rescues and street rescues and stuff that he's gotten connected with, and he spends, like, hours every night now, like, networking with people and trying to get these dogs out of shelters and into rescues or into fosters and all this stuff. It's crazy to, like, watching the change that Archie has had on him, and now, of course,
Oh,
Gibby.
I love that.
It's been crazy, but he put so much effort into that cause now and, doing all that,
And
so,
say the name again, so in case people didn't catch it the first time.
it's Archie's Blankets Across America,
Okay, and
so,
we'll put a link, on our Facebook page.
yeah.
We'll link to it.
Yeah, he's done
His Facebook page.
all kinds of stuff to do it. So, yeah, and we have, like, a spare bedroom closet now that's just filled with blankets. We've had people reach out and ask if they could, like, um, donate, like I hear your cat. Um,
I hear a rescue cat.
yeah, if they could donate, like, comforters and sheets and stuff like that. So we've gotten connected with somebody, because they're like, "It doesn't make sense for us to, like, ship them down." But, we've are connected, or getting connected with somebody who does transport. So when they come up here to drop dogs off, then we can send those types of materials back with them. So it is becoming this, like, this huge thing, like, Tony bought, these all these Orioles tickets and stuff because baseball season is, here, and, it's doing all this, like, stuff where you can, like, win tickets to the Orioles game if you, like, do a certain donation or whatever, and then your name gets entered in to win, and
Oh, I
just
love
all
it.
kinds of craziness. But yeah, it's been really cool to see, like, the impact that, couple little doggos can have.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I think we may have this as another whole separate subject, but the impact of health and the impact
mental.
of pets on your mental and physical health is also
Yeah,
a big one down the
it's
road that we're
huge.
gonna talk about. And
Yeah.
not to leave out the four-legged creatures, but I know there's also a lot of horse and donkey rescues and places like that that need volunteers if you can't do adoptions. But um, there's so many needy animals all over the place.
Mhm.
But Yeah, I think, Michelle, there's probably one up in your part of the neck of the woods that I feel like is a bigger one, like a good the Thurgood Retirement Foundation is one, but there's some other ones I think that, like there's Humane Society specifically for hooved animals like horses and donkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could
Yeah,
do a
there's so
whole
much stuff
thing
out there.
just on the equine side for sure. One of the things, and this is, I guess, another topic for another day, but
Yeah, so much.
right? Like there is so much. What one of the things when I was going through my Equus coaching certification, a lot of the horses that get used for that kind of work tend to come through rescues or be horses that have been donated for those purposes because generally speaking, you're not doing any riding, right? So these
Mm,
horses don't have to be particularly sound or they don't have to, they can be older and, but that whole piece is a whole other man, we could talk about that for
yeah. We were
hours too.
we
Yeah.
were just talking yesterday again, the friend that I was talking to with the RV, we were talking about, like, taking dogs into nursing homes and just
Oh,
the difference that
yeah.
that makes. Like, I remember when my mom was, she had some surgeries and stuff and had to go into, like, physical therapy rehab, but, like, a
Mhm.
live-in, thing, and they would bring, there were some little dogs that would come in there, and, like, just watching all those people, um, when the dogs would come in, it was so cool, and I used to always, like, give my mom a hard time because 'cause she'd be like, "When's Archie?" This is before we got Gizzy, she's like, "When's Archie coming home?" It was never like she didn't care if I was coming, she just wanted to know when Archie was coming.
Yeah, well,
So
I love that. Our parents always did that too because we always had animals, and when we moved away from home, they'd be like, they were their grand dogs or grand cats,
Mhm.
and I
Oh,
do the
yeah.
same. I do the same. My son, get a shout out to my son's grand cat, my grand cat. Her name is Tofu. Hey, Tofu. I know you don't like me, but she likes him and no one else. And actually, even my daughter, her roommate has this sweet little cat called Birdie, who is a crazy little half-grown kitten, and she's hysterical.
Mhm.
And they totally enrich your lives in so many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a whole my gosh, so many hours of, like, just the mental health, like, I always say that, like,
Oh,
the coolest thing is just watching these 2 run around our we have a fenced backyard, and just watching the 2 of them run around and be crazy, like, I could seriously sit out there on, like, a summer night and just watch them. They're so funny, like,
yeah.
I
But
don't
they do
know,
become your
they're
children.
just
I feel like, like, you
yeah.
feel so, attached to them, and, most people who
Mm,
especially rescue pet owners, I feel like you get even more attached somehow with
Mhm.
just, the gratefulness or the way the animals respond and
I don't know, the cats, I don't know how grateful some of the cats are.
Well, that's a good point. Cats are maybe a little different than dogs.
So I remember, when we got Perch and Buzz, Perch was a female, I think they were brother and sister. She was a tuxedo and Buzz was all black, and he was totally, like, into it, and he was pretty grateful. Perch, I don't know, she definitely was like, "You are so lucky to have me," like, and like, and I hope you never forget it, right?
That is
She was
true.
pretty funny. Bill, my husband Bill, he swears that cats are aliens. He's like,
Oh, I get that.
They are this is how the other planets are sending down, little beings to collect information and, report back. He's sure they're aliens.
This
And,
makes a lot of sense.
it does, doesn't it? Like, if you oh my goodness. We were watching, America's Funniest Videos last night, and they had one of the winners, it was this family that had, like, multiple cats, multiple dogs, and you guys, anybody who has animals can totally relate to this. So it was like they were in the kitchen, and all of a sudden, like, something triggered one of the animals, and, like, it all, like, they went like, all hell broke loose, sorry for swearing. But it was crazy, like, one of the cats jumped on top of the refrigerator, knocked all kinds of crap down, which scared the dog, which it was just like this, and the 2 people
Chain
are just
reaction.
right? And they're just standing there like, "What is like, it was the funniest thing. If you get a chance to watch that, I was cracking up because I can totally relate. Like, that is all of a sudden, randomly, like, you're like,
Mhm.
"What?" Clearly, something's happening that we have missed, you know? But, I just thought that was so funny, and as we were watching that, the people were holding their 2 cats, and Bill goes, "Oh, yeah, they're aliens." Like, like, those cats want nothing to do with this whole they're just collecting data. Yep, clearly aliens, absolutely. Yeah,
Makes
so I don't
perfect
know.
sense.
Yeah, the dogs, I think, are super grateful, and I think there is something to that, but I don't know about the cats.
Well, there's that old wives' tale, that cats will, like, suck the breath out of you at night or something. I don't know where this came from, but, that
Yeah.
could be why they're sleeping on your
On your
face.
face, right? Oh
No,
my gosh,
I don't believe that, just so
I
you
don't know.
all know, but
I do believe and have seen this, right? Because when you have cats and you live with other people, you get to see all kinds of really interesting things, but where they sit there and watch you sleep and pat
yes.
your face, right? Like,
Yeah,
right?
that has
Oh my
happened to me.
god, they're
Yeah.
hysterical. Oh my
Interesting
god.
that we're actually, not that far out from finishing up a little short sleep series. But yeah,
Yeah.
anybody with pets or especially cats
So
knows
give
that
it
that is
up.
a detriment
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah.
My favorite is when the dogs are sleeping, and this is more so Archie than Gizzy, probably because he's a boy. But he'll this makes me giggle. He'll, like, do this little he'll fart, and then he'll, like, turn around and look at his butt like, "Ooh, did that come from me?"
What was that?
He'll, like, get up and leave the room. Every time he does it, it cracks me up.
He's
Uh
like, "Oh, excuse me."
Yeah, it's so funny 'cause it'll just be this little, like, poof, and he'll, like, turn around, look at his butt like, "What the heck?" We will have to post some pictures
Yes, we'll
Creatures.
of our
definitely
little
post some
critters on
pictures of some
social.
critters. Absolutely. I'm sure we've all
Um,
got plenty of those that we can dig
yeah.
out.
Yeah, half my phone.
Yeah, and
Um,
snoring too, that's, my
oh,
that's
yeah.
it
Oh,
might be a
yeah.
beagle thing, I don't know, but they
Oh,
snore.
yeah.
Yeah, the cats
Um,
touch you at night,
Yes.
they reach
Oh,
out and touch you or
yeah,
pull my hair, my
yeah.
yellow cat, my orange cat pulls my hair at night. Like, usually he wakes me up when he gets up there because I can tell he's up there, but I'll suddenly, like, he'll be up snuggling behind my head, and the next thing I feel is, like, pulling. I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?" Ah.
I saw this little meme the other day. It was like how my dog sleeps on the couch, and it was, like, all curled up in a little donut, you know? And then it was like how my dog sleeps on the bed, and it's, like, just this dog sprawled out, like,
That's
everywhere.
so
Like,
true.
so true. Yeah. They have
I
don't care
love
about
it.
personal space.
No.
No,
So funny.
no. Well, there is something I read said that cats snuggle or lay on your chest or, sit on you because their purrs are healing. And
Mm,
we'll have to
Aw.
talk about that when we do we'll have to
mm,
research it first, but I'm pretty sure I've read that cats purrs, it's a frequency, it's like a sound healing basically. It's a frequency
mm.
Mhm.
vibration that helps your body heal. So that's partly why they do that because they love you. So
Oh,
that
no.
speaks to the alien
Uh,
stuff again.
yeah.
They're energy healers.
Purge are, female okay, this is probably way TMI, and Bill is gonna kill me because he does this podcast,
I
but she used to love to sleep right in between his legs. Like, he could not he used to make him crazy because she's like a little bowling ball. She's probably, I don't know, 8 pounds, maybe. She wasn't that big, but man, she was dead weight So
Yeah.
whenever he would have to move, try to turn over or something, it was like virtually impossible. So I don't even know what that means based on the whole, I'm just gonna let
Yeah.
that go. Oh
Did
my
she have
God,
Wow.
she was so funny.
did she have claws?
Yes, yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
No wonder that was scary.
Bill.
Yeah, they had all
Poor
claws,
Bill.
all 4 feet, yep. Yeah,
Well,
as
I'll
my
tell you,
furniture can attest, yes.
you know how it is when you get a cat on your lap or you're laying in bed and a cat is on the covers. You cannot
Yeah,
get
you
up.
don't move. Yeah.
There'll be none of that, yeah. There'll be no movement. Because, man, you really get the stink eye when you do that.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
exactly. I
I
love
feel like
it.
we could go on and
I
on
know,
forever
I
with this,
know.
but
We probably could. It could be like
yeah.
lots more stories,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll
Yeah.
put some shout outs in when we promote, and we'll put in the show notes, we'll put the Facebook group that Amy's hubby, Tony, is doing,
Yes.
Yeah.
and the Beagle Freedom Project and the Cruelty Cutter app and all the
Yeah.
good things.
All the
The other
things.
thing I would say is if anybody is interested in finding out like in helping or something in their area, like feel free to shoot us an email. Certainly we don't know every area across the country, but like I'm happy to help people try to find organizations in their area or something that you can help with. I mean, a quick Google search will probably do that for you as well, but if you're interested in helping, yeah, let us know because I'm happy to help people
Yeah,
do
sure.
that. Anything to help the little animals.
Mhm.
The
So,
angel animals. That's so true. Oh.
yeah, animals. So
Well, thank you guys for
anyway,
listening again to
yeah,
our
thank you.
chatter and
Send us pictures of. Oh yeah, we should
oh
have
Yeah.
people
yes,
post pictures of
please post
their
pictures of their
animals.
pets. Yeah, I think you can do that in
Yeah.
the comments.
Yes, we'll have to.
Yeah.
We'll put that up so you guys can put
Oh,
some
good,
pictures
yeah.
because we want to see your animals too.
Yeah, we'd love that. We love
So
animal pictures, and we'll get more followers the more animals we have on our feed.
That's true.
That's how the algorithm works.
yeah, I think so too.
Hashtag cats of Instagram or whatever.
All right, so
Dogs
how
of
are we ending this one?
Oh,
Oh,
man.
let's do
Oh,
it.
no.
We got to do it right. Are we counting down? Or are we going to
Are
take
we gonna do
turns?
it all
Are we
together?
doing the all three at one time? Or are we doing one,
Let's
two?
try it. Let's try all
All
Okay.
three.
right, let's
What the
try
heck?
it.
Ready? 2, 3.
Monkey chatter.
Monkey
Monkey
chatter.
chatter.
Ew.
Who
we
you hang with
With
matters.
matters.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
no.
I
Yeah.
feel like we should
Wow.
be doing a chant and a teepee in the woods or something.
Like,
I think it might be the delay of the
yeah,
the distance.
yeah, something.
We're
I
in
think
3
we need.
different states.
Yeah, I think we just need to pick 1 monkey, 2 monkey, 3 monkey. We'll keep working on it, people. We'll keep working on it.
Yep. Keep cheering us
Maybe
on.
just hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Something. Like we could just
That's kind of
I
how it
don't
started out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
We'll figure it out. Anyway,
Aw.
thanks
Thanks
you
for
guys.
listening. Go
Great
pet your
Well,
pups
conversation.
and your
go
kitties.
snuggle with your animals.
Yeah.
Yes.
See you guys.